Live from the chicken wing capital of the world, Buffalo, New York. You're listening to the Childcare Bridge Podcast, your source for the best tips, tools, and tactics on how to market and grow your childcare center, ensuring total domination. Total domination. This is the Childcare Bridge, and this is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Childcare Bridge. I'm getting a lot of questions around retaining and keeping staff happy, engaged, healthy, moving and rowing in the same direction that you're looking to go at your centers, and just a lot of things all of a sudden around culture and people. Now, there's always going to be people challenges, and we've went through this great resignation, and it's been up and down in this industry for quite some time with staffing. But I wanted to teach you a concept today that I think you're going to find very, very interesting. And it's the concept around dreams. So in previous episodes, I have talked about how you as the owner should have kind of vision boards, and you should be planning out your painted picture. So what do things look like for you over the next 3 years? And writing it down as if it had already happened. I have this number of enrollments, this number of locations, my brand looks like X, and really talking about all of that stuff as if it were reality. The downside is that you're forgetting one critical piece, and that is your staff. If you firmly believe in the concept of a rising tide lifts all boats, what if you could start to bring some of those concepts to your staff? What if you could start to bring in exercises that none of your competitors are ever going to do or have ever even thought about doing? So one of my favorite books is a book titled The Dream Manager. And the premise of the book is, if you look at helping your employees accomplish their dreams, you build an intense and just an incredible sense of loyalty. You build a culture of people that are a lot happier, and they may not even be the highest paid. Now, right now, pay is extremely important, so I'm not saying that as I teach you the strategy that you can lower all of your wages or expect that you can be paying well below market, so keep that as a little bit of an asterisk. But what if you could deploy this strategy and see your happiness go up across your team? What if you could deploy this and the referrals that you got for potential new employees started to go up? And what if I were to tell you that this strategy costs very, very little money? Now, the great thing is I'm a walking testimonial. Now, with everything that I teach you week in and week out, I will never teach something that I haven't deployed for my business, for myself, or at centers that we're working with. I'll never teach theory. I need to be able to prove out the concepts and not just say, well, I think you should try TikTok ads, or I think you should try this. I'm going to give you stuff that has been battle tested. So for the last 7 to 8 years, every time we bring in a new employee, we have them fill out a dream questionnaire. And that asks things like, where do you want to go? Who do you want to visit? What do you want to buy? What do you want to accomplish? It is somewhat materialistic at the beginning, like, hey, I want to buy this and buy that, and I want to go there. But then it also starts to talk about some of the softer skills. And it starts to talk about things like, well, what training would you like to go through? And don't just tell me, well, you want to go through training so you can become a director at our center, but what do you actually want to learn? You want to learn to cook? You want to learn to play the piano? What do you want to learn? What do you aspire to be? What do you want your life to look like over the next couple of years? What do you want your legacy to be? And it starts to ask a lot of probing questions. Now, I haven't perfectly executed everything across the Dream Manager program as to how they teach it. I kind of have taken bits and pieces and adapted it to what I felt would make the most sense for our organization. So the first piece is this Dream Questionnaire, and that takes them typically about a half hour. Now, after we have that questionnaire finished, we look it over. A, we look it over, and B, we actually send it to our graphic designers, and they make a beautiful board like this that the team member can print out. We are happy to have it framed and printed and sent it to their house. Most people like to have it digitally, and even they just print a little copy, but we love when people say, hey, I want this as a poster, I want to put it on my wall. So now what they have is they said, okay, great, I want to go to Florida, I want to buy a Lamborghini, I want to learn to cook, I want to do, they put all these different things, we make it visual for them. So they can now start to see it visually rather than it just being words. So they start from having this dream questionnaire to now you actually have this beautiful dream board. Now, you might say, well, it's a really great start. And I would agree, just in doing these little pieces, at least make you hyper aware of what your team is trying to accomplish personally. But this is where kind of the rubber meets the road and really where this starts to get exciting. So we've got their dream questionnaire. We've got the visual representation of what they were looking to accomplish. We now look at that list and we start to ask ourselves, what are some of the things during the course of the next 12 months that we can either gift to them, train them on, make introductions for, or coach them on? And you might say, well, Michael, what if everyone says I want to buy a house? Okay, that's fine, but I'm not interested in buying them a house. What I'm interested in, if that is one of their goals, what are some things that I could do to help them along the way? Can I make introductions to loan officers? Can I look at it and help you get some of your financial stuff in order? Now, hang with me when I say I, because I'll tell you a little bit more about who that I typically is in just a minute. Can I make some key introductions? What can I do to help them start to move the needle? Tony Robbins says progress equals happiness. If you know that they want to buy a house, and day in and day out, they're coming, they're working at your center, and they feel like they're not even an inch closer to where they were 6 months ago, they're going to start to get unhappy. And that's when they start to look for pay being that number one motivator. Hey, like, I haven't been able to save any money. I don't have enough for a down payment. I need to start making more money. And they will leave your organization for another $1 or $2 an hour. But if you are hyper aware of that, and that is one of their goals, and you put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, great, I want to accomplish this. And then you jump out of those shoes and put your hat on of how can I lead, help, inspire, and in some cases possibly buy the things that are on their list. Now, I'm not saying that you need to go and you're going to help them do every single one of those this year. I would encourage you to look across all of your team and laser in on one thing that you want to start helping them towards. And after you have that done, this is where the fun really happens. It's fun to look at dreams, and it's fun to, I love to see what my team says. Some of the things are so selfless, it's incredible to me. One person had written the dream that they wanted to pay for their mother's glaucoma surgery. I mean, on my dream board, I have things like buy another vacation home, tour and travel the world, $1 million in the bank. I have really big things. And then I see someone's dream board and it says, pay for my mother's glaucoma surgery, volunteer 100 hours at a children's charity. I start to read these things and it's it starts to level me, but it also really starts to inspire me because I know that I can start to help them move the needle. So after you've started to look at the teams and you've lasered in on some of the things you're going to start helping with, you want to look at, is there somebody within your organization that can essentially act as a life coach and or a dream manager? Now, there's a formal dream manager program, and you can hire certified dream managers. But if you're looking to kind of do the, dare I say, sloppy success to at least start to move the needle a little bit, maybe that's you initially. And it can start as casual as once a quarter for 30 minutes, you're meeting with your team, and you're looking at their dream board with them, and you're asking them about progress, you're coaching them a little bit, you're making some of those introductions, you're helping them move the needle, and you're letting them know that we're going to meet in 90 more days. And I want to see these things done. I want to see you making progress. Imagine just for a minute the conversations you're going to have. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of the employee. When has a boss ever said, let's have a meeting and let's talk about your dreams, and then let me see what I can do to help you accomplish those, and let's meet again in 90 days, and in 90 days, and I want to see progress. I want to help you with progress. That just doesn't happen in most organizations. So if you're wanting to separate your organization, your center from every other center out there, imagine in your interview process, if you talk about this dream program, that we want to learn about your dreams. We want to start coaching you. So we provide a life coach that's going to help coach you to accomplish your dreams. And we're fine if those dreams have nothing to do with our center. In most cases, the dreams are not going to have anything to do with you or your center. So you might challenge me and say, well, what if somebody says they want to be an entrepreneur? What if they say they want to start their own childcare center? Should I be worried about that? I've used a phrase that came from one of my mentors, Adam Whitty, that says, regardless of how, and this is something he said exactly to me verbatim, regardless of how long you are here at my organization, I promise that you will leave a more well-rounded person personally and professionally. So when I was helping Adam with their marketing at the Advantage Company, he knew that I had all these other aspirations and I had side gigs and all these other things that were going on. But it didn't matter because he knew that in helping me, I'm going to continue to be more and more loyal and to continue to help the company. So I don't want you to be afraid if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur. If that is one of their dreams, now you're aware of it. Why not help them and say, I love this dream, so tell me more about that. And when you've identified some of these things, you start to have a lot more interesting conversations. Maybe you find somebody that you're going to open up another center location with, and they get partial ownership and they run that location. But if you have no clue what their dreams are, and then you get blindsided because they submit a resignation, well, didn't you know that I always wanted to do X? So do you want to get blindsided when somebody gives you a resignation and says, well, I always wanted to do X and I'm following my dreams? What if you were a part of that conversation, a part of that movement, a part of helping people accomplish their dreams? So now we've went from you're identifying their dreams, you're making something visual for them to see, you're then starting to identify the one or two that you're looking at helping them with. You start to set up these dream coaching sessions and moving people through the process. The final piece to the equation, personally, is my favorite. And what I do at complete random, shouldn't say complete random, but largely at random, I grant a couple of the dreams during the course of the year. I normally have granted one or two around the holidays and one or two at kind of the New Year formal kickoff. So a lot of them are pretty condensed at the end of the year and right at the beginning of a year. And I look for things that financially I can grant in its entirety. So if someone says, I want to take a trip around the world, I most likely can't grant that in its entirety. Somebody says, I want to go visit Hong Kong Disneyland, for example, I most likely can make that happen. So I look for things that stand out. And the random piece is that I don't always select people that are the most amazing people within my organization. I look for people that are deserving. I look for people that are hungry. I do look for people that are looking to kind of grow as a person. It doesn't have to be you're giving things out to your leadership team, but if someone on your leadership team is doing anything and everything to make sure that you're successful, yeah, they're most likely going to be one of the recipients. But I like to do it at random. Maybe you get a little grant that you didn't expect, so now you have an extra couple $1,000s. As I grant these dreams, I do it in a public forum with all the staff, and I make sure that it's authentic, that they know that there's nothing, they don't even need to say thank you. I mean, they're obviously going to say thank you, but I'm not doing it for praise. I'm doing it to say, this is what you get. I'm so grateful for it, and I want to show you that we continue to live out our dream program. And you want to know what has happened the last 7-8 years that I've done this? Our employee retention is among the best in the industry. Our team members refer people to us all the time that want to come work here. They hear about people winning awards, granting dreams, having these dream conversations. So not only when we put a new job posting, we're getting from Indeed and all the other places, but we're getting more referrals than we ever have before because people want to come to work here. We're not having to convince them. And then in interviews, I'm talking about this program. I'm letting people know we granted this one. And to date, we've granted 10 dreams, for example. And I let them know that. I say it's not guaranteed, but I would love to be able to, at the very least, coach you and help you start to accomplish their dreams. It changes the conversation. It changes the mindset of your team. It changes everything when you go from simply being an employer to being somebody that wants to help your team accomplish their dreams. I highly encourage you to listen to this one again, re-listen to it, pick out a couple of nuggets, and start to move this into practice. This literally can completely help transform your culture, the way your team sees you, the attitude around your organization, all for the better, and just help you accomplish things that you never could have imagined. Michael Tasner signing off. Until next week, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.